Welcome everybody. Thanks Emma for coming along to our session today. So we're doing a session on grading and feedback in Canvas. It's also being added to our YouTube channel as well. So hello to anybody that's watching there. I have my colleagues Roisin Garvey and Sarah on our call today, so they'll be able to answer any of your questions. So feel free to use the Q&A feature either on YouTube or on Zoom here if you have any questions as we're going through. So some of the things we're going to look through in our session today, keep it kind of short. We're going to probably do about 30 to 40 minutes in today's session. So we're going to do an overview of the gradebook. So this will help any new staff or any existing staff that we have. We'll just have a look through any of the settings in there, how to find the submissions, how to filter out the gradebook. There's been a couple of updates to the gradebook filtering options, and then we'll have a look at the results of any of the assignments or quizzes inside of the gradebook. We're also going to have a deep look at the speed grader, and inside of Canvas we're going to look at how to find the submissions inside of that. We'll have a look at kind of just the basics of the interface and how to provide feedback, so that can be written, audio or visual feedback. So we'll go through each of those in a little bit of detail. We'll then have a look at the quizzes and how to review the quizzes and all of the answers that students have given and how to moderate those if needed. And then we'll have a quick look at our original plagiarism detection software. So I'm just going to dive straight into it there. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is our gradebook. So where to find submissions inside of the gradebook and of SpeedGrader. So I'm just going to jump over here. And we'll pop into, this is just a module that we use for our training sessions. So all of the modules have a very similar interface. And just for anybody that is a new staff, if there's something here that you want to be able to access or that you want students to be able to access more importantly. So for instance, this announcement has this little eye icon here with a line through it, and it's telling me that's not visible to students. So I think there's something that's really important for any new staff or anybody who might not know. If you want to be able to make this visible, you just need to go down here to our settings option. And then we go into our navigation, because this is our navigation for the module. And anything in this top part here is what is visible. So that's anything without the eye icon that is visible to students. And so I can just drag those and pop them up there. And now these are visible to the students. And the same thing, if I wanted to make something not visible, I could just pull that down there and it would hide that, and you can click save and that'll update then your navigation menu there. So that's just something that I just wanted to very quickly point out. So from your homepage might look like this, or you could have your homepage set to show your syllabus. And it just depends on how it's been set up in the first place or how you prefer it to be customized. And what we're going to be looking for, first of all, is our grades. So if we click onto our grades section here, this will open up our grade book. So this is what our grade book looks like from our perspective, from a teacher perspective. So I can see here that I have the student names, and then I have these columns here which represent all the different assessments. So the assessments might be assignments or they might be quizzes. So at this stage in the semester, we're most likely looking to give grading and feedback on these assignments or quizzes. So what we can do here is we can open up the speed grader. So you can actually open up the speed grader from two separate ways. So you can go into here. This is our three dots, which will open up the menu for each individual column. So each one has that there. And you can click on this here to open up the speed grader. Alternatively, if you're trying to find a speed grader, if you go into the assignment section, so this is where you've set up your assignment and you click in to open up your assignment, you can see here that you also have the option to open the speed grader from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring us back to our grade book and we'll go in through that way. Another important thing that I like to point out about the grade book when you're here is just always double check before you're giving your grade and feedback that you're not automatically posting any of those grades. You want them to be set to manual. So this is the default, but I would always suggest that you just go in and double check that setting. So all we have to do is, while inside of our grade book, we want to go to this little cog here, which obviously represents our settings. And if we click onto that, we can see here that we have our late policies. So if a student is submitting something late, you can automatically apply a deduction to any late submission. So you can click on that and you can deduct them a couple of percentage for anything that's late. But what I want to show you for this moment is the grade posting policy. So if I click on that there, I can see that it's set to manually post the grades, which means students will only get them as I post them. And otherwise, if you had it set to this automatically post grades, as you're giving the grades and feedback, students would be able to access them. So it's just always good practice to make sure that's set to manual so that you can control when those grades are posted. So I'm happy with that there. It's set to our manual, and we'll go inside the speed grader now. We'll have a look at that. I'm just going to open up our assignment 1 here, which was an essay submission. And I'm going to go to our menu and click on the speed grader there. So this will open up my speed grader. And I can see inside of here what the submission was for the student. I can see the student's name is up here. So it was Roisin Garvey submitted this. I can see the date and time that it was submitted. There's only one submission here, so I can see there's not multiple submissions. So if, for instance, I went to the next student and I can see here submission to view, this looks a little bit differently, and I get this drop down now. So I can see there was 2 submissions for this assignment. So here's the first one was the 24th. So I can click onto that and have a look at that one if I wanted to kind of compare them or for any other reason. But as a default, the most recent one will always display first, but just to kind of show you the difference in what that looks like and how you can tell if a student has submitted 2 or 1 or more submissions. And then we also have here that this one has been marked late. So I can see, obviously I had the deadline set for this submission and it was submitted just a couple of minutes late. So if we want to, so that's just to flag that for you there, but if we want to edit that, we have this little pencil icon. And we can click on that and we can actually change it from late to missing if that was the case, or if, if Roisin was in touch with me and she had a good excuse, had a doctor's note or whatever it may be, I can change this to excused, or I can just change it to none, and that'll just remove that late submission there for me. That'll just load back up now. So that's just to give you an idea of what that looks like and to show that for you there. So once I finish loading, and I'll pop that back as late, just so you can see what that looks like there. And again, it would tell me by how many days it was late. This was only submitted a couple of minutes late. I think it was 5 or 6 minutes late, so it's 0 days late, but it's still just flagged as late just for myself. So if I had had that setting turned on where I showed you earlier, it could deduct marks if that's what I wanted to happen. In this case, I don't have any marks deducted for it. So some of the things then that I just wanted to show inside of the speed grader is just all the different ways that you can give feedback inside of the speed grader. So first and foremost, you can give them a grade. So you can just manually input a grade here if you want to do that. And so you can submit that. And then once you submit that grade there, you can see that this little hidden button, or not button, this little bit of text pops up, and this just tells me that it's hidden from the student. So this is important as well, just to make sure that this shows up, to make sure that it's not automatically being sent out to the student. And what we can do then is we can provide some general kind of feedback in this comment section here. So we can actually go through and give really specific feedback through here, but for overall comments for the assignment, we can just give some general feedback here. So I could write excellent work, Roisin. And I could submit that then. And I can see these are just general comments for the overall assignment that was submitted. If I wanted to then give it a little bit more detailed feedback, I can use these annotation tools inside of the speed grader. So what I can do here is I have all these different tool options up the top. So one of the first things I can do is I can use this little point annotation, and I can just drop a point here, and I could leave a comment there. So really strong intro, and leave that there so you can see those comments there. Another thing that we can do is we can use the highlight annotation. So if there's an area there that we want to do this, you could say researched, and we could add that in there. We also have the option to change these if we need to. And then we also have a bit of text, so you can just add a little bit of text wherever you need to here. So you could just say excellent again. And you can move that around wherever you need it to be. Another thing we can do is we have the strikeout annotation. So if there was something here that maybe is not relevant, we could put a little strike through there. And we also have the option to leave a comment. So not relevant. You obviously have the option enter freehand job, and then this is something that I find really helpful as well. So it's the area annotation. So if there's like a whole paragraph here that you could either say, this works really well, or it doesn't work so well, you could have left this out, or something along those lines. So these are like the different options you can do to give that kind of detailed feedback to the students then. So that's just kind of give you an overview of that. Then obviously down here we have our general comments for the overall assignment. Another thing that we can do then is we can actually provide some audio or visual feedback. So we can do that using these little tools down here underneath the general comments. So we have first the option to attach a file. So, I could say something like, your paper reminds me of this, or, you could have used this as a resource or anything like that. So you can use this button here to attach a file, and you can just upload a file there. We also have the options then to provide a media comment. So if I click on the media comment, you can see here that now I can see my webcam, and I can see that my mic is working, and I can just start recording a message for the student there. So, I can 3, 2, 1, and it was really excellent work on the paper. The introduction was really strong. I think we could do a little bit more work on your conclusions. So let's have a chat about that the next time in the class. If you have any questions about the feedback that I provided, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. We can just press their finish button there, and we can save that media. So once that saves, then you can see here that this media comment has been uploaded here, and the student will be able to view that then as well. Another thing that you can also do for a media comment, if you didn't want to have your video on, is you can just turn your webcam off there, and I can just use my voice if I wanted to do that. So, this is really helpful in terms of like your time efficiency. So if you didn't want to be constantly typing the same thing over and over again, you could just pop each student a little 20-second video giving their feedback, and it might save yourself a little bit of time. This also can help with accessibility. If you have any students that need a little bit of extra accessibility within the course, you can do this as well. So that's just one of the ways that we can give some audio or video feedback there as well. And another really cool thing that I wanted to show you as well is the speech recognition here. So it's this third option here. So if I click on that one, once I click this record button, it will start actually turning my speech to text. So I'll give you a little demonstration of that there as well. Well done. This was a really great assignment. You did an excellent job on your introduction. So I'm going to stop that there. And then this text actually jumps in here. And so I can have a read over this. Really great. You did an excellent. It's a double accent, getting confused there, on your introduction. So there we go. And then so we can just post that then there as well. And so it's just another way to kind of save yourself typing out the same thing over and over again. You can use that speech to text to kind of save yourself a little bit of time as you're going through giving the feedback. And another little helpful tip that I think is worth pointing out while you're in the speed grader and you're giving your feedback to the students is this little option here. So this is our comments library. So as you can see here, I have the number 4 beside it. So this is showing that I have 4 comments saved in my comment library. So if I click on that one there, I can see that these are all the comments that I have saved. So basically, to save myself a little bit of time, any of the kind of repetitive comments I give feedback-wise, I can save here. And what I can do here, so it's really well researched, well done. If I click on that, it'll come straight down here into my text box, and I can submit that as it is, or I can kind of, I can personalize it a little bit more. Just really well researched, Roisin. Well done. And I can submit that then as well. So if I just open back up my comments library there again, I'll just show you how you can actually add a new comment. So it's just this little area down here. So underneath all of our saved ones, we can edit those as we need to. We can also turn on the option to have suggestions pop up when typing. So, again, that can save you a little bit of time as you're going through. And then to add a new comment, so you'll just write whatever you need here. So all done on the conclusion. And I can just click add to my library. And now I have a new one there added to my library. When I come back down, I see this number now is 5. So yeah, it's just, these are all just little tips and tricks while using the speed grader to kind of help you give a little bit of that feedback there. So if I just click onto my next submission there, so I can see this was one that I had given feedback for already. If I go to my previous submission there, I can see that I had all those annotations in there. I can see the comments. I can see a video comments that I've uploaded there as well. And I can see that the overall grade was 90 there. I think I deleted that then when I was doing my preparation for the training. So we can see all these things in here. So it's just a nice way to have a look at the speed grader there. So I'm going to bring us back to our gradebook. And we can see now that the gradebook has been updated. So before I started, we had this icon here to show that it's not been graded. And I can see now that these have been updated to reflect the grades that I have put into the into the speed grader as I was working there. Another really nice tip and trick that I wanted just to show you, and this is inside of our gradebook, is our message to all or like automatic grade messaging feature that is inside of the gradebook. So if I just go back to our menu here again, and if I just come down to this third option here, I can see that I have this option for message students who. So if I just give this a click, I get this pop-up options. And so this gives me the option to compose a kind of like a broadcasted message to any of my students who. So we have a couple of different options. So we can message all the students who have not submitted anything yet. Any students that I've not graded it for it yet, who have scored more than, scored less than, or if it's reassigned. So if I had this really kind of good for a couple of different things. So you can use it for if a student, obviously if they've scored less than, you might want to go into the less than. We can choose what they've scored less than. So anyone that scored less than 50. Maybe I don't have anyone there. Let's say less than 100. Okay, so I have 2 students that have scored less than 100. So if I click this drop down, I can see who they are and what I can do. So you can use this for, if anybody has scored less than 50, 60, and you want to give them a little bit of extra guidance or feedback, you could use this add attachment, and you could actually attach, a couple of different things. You could attach like rubrics, or you could attach a paper that you thought would have helped them or something, kind of help them improve their structure or writing style or anything like that. So you can attach different documents there and send them off for that little bit of extra guidance. You can type them a message, kind of giving them a little bit of extra feedback as to, why they didn't do as well, or kind of just giving them a little bit of encouragement for the next time. And then we can also have the option here as well to record our own video message and send that off to them. So you can kind of personalize it a little bit more by just sending them a message to say, look, you didn't do that well in this assignment. Here's some of the reasons why. Here's some of the things you should look over for the next time, so on and so forth. And we can send them off that video message if we want to. In the same kind of case, you could message students who scored more than, and you could, give them that little bit of praise. You could send them on some additional resources, or you could just kind of let them know. Similarly then, if you're coming up to an assignment deadline, maybe a day, 2 days before, a couple of days before, you can message anybody who's not submitted yet. And in the same kind of case, just send them a message, hi, just a reminder, you did not submit to this assignment yet. The deadline is approaching. Please submit your assignment before XYZ. So this is just a nice way to be able to get in touch with your students and to use this automatic grade messaging to get in contact with them in a nice, easy way. So you're not sending out that same message. You're not looking up, okay, who didn't submit yet, trying to find a list, getting the list together, sending off those individual messages. You can just come in here and you can just fire them all off in one quick, easy way. So I think we're okay for time. So I'm actually going to just go through the rubrics section with you as well. So I'm going to bring us back into our speed grader so we can have a look at this. And just let that load up there for a second. So for this assignment, I have actually created a rubric. So once I have done that, then I'm able to go in. Sorry, waiting. Okay, let's reload that there. And here we go. So this is an assignment that I've not yet corrected. So as I said, I've created a rubric for this assignment here, and I have this option here to view the rubric. So if I click on this here, and I'm just going to expand this out a little bit here, I can see that this is the rubric that I've set up for this assignment. So I have my different criterias here. So it's sentence, grammar, mechanics, spelling, focus and details, and overall structure. And I've this set to 20 points for the settings and structure, 40 points for the focus details, and 40 points for the overall structure, which obviously makes up to our full 100 points. So what I can do is, if I think, Sarah's assignment, Sarah's full marks in this one, medium marks in this one, and medium marks in this one, it's automatically filling in those points for me. So it's doing a little bit of that work there for me. Once I'm happy with that, then I can obviously add my general comments. Very well done. We can pop that in there, submit that. As usual, as pointed out a couple of minutes ago, we have the options to attach the file to video or use that speech to text. And then we can just save that out there. And so I'm just going to push this back to the side so we can see it properly. And then I have here that my points are now 68 and that the assignment comments are added there as well. So if I go back into our grade book there now, I can pop this in as Sarah's 68. And so that's just a nice, easy way that we can add the grading as well using that rubric section. So one of the next things then that I just wanted to show you throughout this session is we're going to have a look at our original plagiarism detection software. So I've created an assignment here and it's an original assignment. I'm actually going to open it up in this gradebook here, and the only reason I'm doing that is because these actually got quite low similarity scores because they were original works that we submitted, where for this one here I made sure to kind of get something that would flag it up a bit more. So I'm just going to open this. It's just a different training module that we use, and I'm going to open up our speed grader for this original assignment. I can see my first student doesn't have a submission, so that's fine. I'm going to go to this one here. So for this student, this was the assessment guidelines handbook. So this was basically just taken off of our TEL department website. And so I can see here that when I've submitted something as an original assignment, when a student has submitted something as an original assignment, when it is calculating it in original, you'll get a little timer icon here. And then when you hover over it, it'll tell you it's still processing, come back later. And so once original has made the final decision on that and we've gotten our similarity score and our detailed report, it'll change here to a percentage. So we can see here this one is extremely high. We have 97.72 as our percentage score. And what I can actually do then is I can click onto this and see a more detailed report inside of original. So let's just give a click on that there. Perfect. So what we can see now is our similarity report. So there's a couple of things in here that we'll go through. I'm just going to kind of touch on a couple of things here today, but we do actually have a whole dedicated training session video on original. It's on our YouTube department channel. So it's the MTU TEL department channel, and you'll be able to find it there. For anybody that's watching with us live, Sarah might just post that in the chat for us. Thanks very much. A link to that video. So what we can see here is that we have a couple of different sections. So we have our overview here. We have our findings section. we have our sources section, and we have the document. So I'll go through them all just a little bit for you there. So in the overview, what I can see here is that 9 pages out of 9 contain suspicious findings. So this is obviously makes a lot of sense to me because this was taken off of our website. And so what I can see here is anything that's these blue blocks is showing me that these all are getting flagged with potential plagiarism. So just something to note is that, you know, with the plagiarism detection software, it's always potential plagiarism. You always need to still go in and just do your little bit of research yourself and give it a bit of a review so that you can just double check if it's not been, if it is potentially plagiarism. So if I click on this here, I can see here that I got this whole block is matching. And what it's telling me is that it's being matched from telcit.ie, and then it's giving me that URL as well. So this makes sense to me, obviously, because it's taken from this website. But if this was something, an assignment or a literature review, and you know, I know students are heavily going to be influenced by a certain piece of text or a paper, then you know there might be certain reasons that you want to actually say, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to exclude this from the findings. So if I can click that exclude button here, and I can see now my similarity score has dropped a little bit, and now that page is gone. So it's 7 pages out of 9 with the suspicious findings. So I can kind of do that for each block. So I can see here the opening paragraph on page 5 as well. It's being flagged as a matching block. So again, I have the option to exclude that if I think that's okay and that's actually not plagiarism. I can just take that away. The similarity score will drop a little bit, and we can see it's not highlighted anymore. Another thing that we can do then is if we click onto it and we can actually go to the view details, this will bring us to our next section, which is the findings section. So I can see here that this is the submitted document, and I can see here that this is the text from the TEL-CIT website. So it's showing me where it's been taken from or where it's been heavily influenced from. So I can see here in this part here, it's flagging. It's flagging there that it's all the same bit of text as it is here. So again, it's just a quite easy way to be able to see what's been submitted, where it's been taken from, and if indeed it is a case of plagiarism, and whether you need to exclude that or leave it in there. So just for yourself to kind of have a review of that. We then have the option here of the sources. So I can see that, you know, 97.7% of this was taken from the TEL-CIT website. And then we have 5 identical sources there. So I can show all of them there. And I can turn off some of the sources there if I wanted to do that. So as I said, if it was a case where, you know, it was fine with me that they used this particular website, I can exclude that one there, and I can just keep the rest of those ticked. And then you can see there that this one is not included because I've okayed that one to stay there. And then, so the next thing then that we have here is the document, which is it's similar enough there. It's showing me the document that's been submitted, and it's showing me the different sources. So again, I can go through there and I can uncheck any sources I think aren't cases of potential plagiarism. And that way then we can drop down the score, or we can higher the score, whatever we need to do there. Just for your own kind of review of that, and so you can adjust any of the grades as you need to do. And then we also have the option here that if you kind of press some of these and then realize later on, you know, actually this probably was a case of potential plagiarism, you can reset the report state there as well. So you'll get it back to the original state that you first found it in. You have the option to export the analysis report as a PDF, which can come in really handy, especially if you're kind of giving feedback face to face. You can print these out, or you can have them as PDF displayed on your laptop or anything similar like that. You have the option obviously to share it if you wanted to email it to yourself, or if you wanted to email it to the students, but I don't think that's a really common thing that people do. And then we have the options setting here, which just has a couple of additional options that we can do. So we can turn off whether the brackets, anything in brackets will be picked up as potential plagiarism. So this obviously comes in handy for things that are being quoted. So you can turn off anything in brackets, and that'll lower the score a bit if it's something like a literature review, as I said. Anything with text differences, anything in quotes you might not want to be added in there, or anything that are group sources. Apologies. So that's just a couple of different options that you have there in terms of how you can look through this report and how you can determine cases of plagiarism or not. And then you can bring it back to your grade book then, and you can implement those scores as you need to then. So that kind of just covers just a light touch on the original plagiarism detection software. As I said, we do have a full, I think it's 40-minute training video that was delivered by my colleague Derek Oakley. So there's a lot more detail in his video. If you did want to go and have a look at that, it's available on our YouTube channel, and the link has been placed into the chat. Thanks very much for that, Sarah. Just one more thing that I wanted to show you in terms of our grade book here is that, so just say for this one here, when I click on these little squares, so obviously these are what the students are getting their grades in. So if I click on this and I just click on this little button here that's popping up to the side, this is actually where I can obviously adjust the grade, but I could do that inside the grade book directly, or I can actually adjust the status as well. So if something was flagging up as late, so say for instance, this one here is in blue, so it's telling me that it's late. So what I can do then is like say, you know what, Roisin actually was excused from that one, so that's fine. It'll turn to yellow and I'll know she's excused, or I could just change that to none there as well. And then also I can very quickly see any of the comments that have been added there as well without having to actually leave my grade book. So that's kind of handy for a couple of different reasons there. So just before I jump over into the quizzes, there's only a couple of things I want to show you in the quizzes. I just wanted to kind of run through some of the different filter and arranging options for the gradebook. So as I said at the very beginning of the presentation, there's actually been kind of some smaller updates made to Canvas over the last couple of months, which gives you some more options in terms of what you can filter and how you can arrange things. So of course we have here that we can search our student names, or we can search by assignment names. So that's fine. We have our drop down over here, which can show me all units. It can show me just assignments, or it can show me just quizzes, or it can show me just the original assignment. So if you need to look at your grade book in any of those things in particular, we can do that. I like to kind of keep it set to all units so I can see a good overview there. I then have the option there that I can see the individual gradebook, or I can go into our view. So this kind of where we have some more options there as well. So we can arrange it in a couple of different ways. We can arrange it by the assignment name, the due date of the assignment. It can be oldest, newest, or newest to oldest. We can arrange it by the points, lowest to highest, or vice versa, or we can arrange it by the units. And then we have the option there to filter it by the units as well. And we can have some options there in the columns. And then some of the things there that we have for actions. So just while we're here, we might as well finish off with all of our settings. So we can either import something. So this could be, we could import a version of the gradebook after we finish editing it offline. You can export the current gradebook view, or we can export the entire gradebook. So this comes in handy for a couple of different reasons. So if you take something off, if you export it, and you can open it up then as a CSV file, so it's an Excel file. And if you're familiar with Excel, there's a whole range of things that you can do in there for different filtering options, arranging options. So it's pretty endless. So even though we have got these new options here inside of the actual gradebook, you have that option there to export the whole gradebook and kind of get some additional options in Excel. Another reason you might want to export the entire gradebook is if you want to upload, when you're ready to kind of post your grades and upload them to Web for Faculty or Web for Student, you can export the gradebook there, and that just might come in handy for you as well. So the last thing then that I just want to show you is if I go back to my menu and I pop into my quizzes. Just so we've already made our quizzes. Our students have taken our quizzes in this instance. I'm going to open up quiz number 2 there. And I'm going to go to our build. So there's 2 ways I could have done that there, just kind of flag that with you. So I've clicked into our quiz, and then I can click the build. Or a nice quicker way that we can do that is I can go to my little 3 dots here, and I can directly go to that build option there. Perfect. So once it's loaded up, I can see my questions. Again, it's a dummy module with a dummy quiz, so just be aware of that. And so what I wanted to show you then is just so in your settings, I actually don't have it on for this one, again, because they're just going to test and modules and assignments. But what you kind of always want to have on, especially in terms of the assessments, is to restrict that student view. So this means that once the student has submitted the quiz, submitted their answers, they won't automatically get a pop-up to say, you got 6 out of 6 correct. They won't know, so it'll be restricted to them. So this is always a good thing to have ticked here, just so that you have the entire control over when the results get released. And then another reason this would come in handy is if you have a question, something like this with a text box. So I'm asking students to submit their own answers inside that text box there. It's not one of these, it's not a drop down, it's not radio buttons. They need to physically write in that text themselves, and then that'll need to be corrected, because obviously the quiz itself won't be able to automatically correct that question, so you'll need to go in and do that. So what we do there is we go to our moderate section, and I can see in here our student names, how many attempts they've had at this, the score that they've got, how long it took them to complete it. I can actually see a full log there, so if I click into this, I can actually see what time they started and in what order they answered the questions or anything like that. So that'll just give me a view of the log. And then we have if there was any accommodations made. So, if one of them might have needed an additional kind of bit of time, we could have added that there. So in this case, nobody did. And then so we can click our moderate there as well. And we can see then that we have our additional attempts or our time adjustments there. And yeah, so I can see there, if they got 60%, I can see that there. Or if I needed to go in and check the attempt, I could click on this. And I can see here that this, this is correct. That's fine. I can leave a comment there if I wanted to. And then, so this is the one that I was showing you there. So this is the one that the student needed to enter that text. So I can see what's the process, submitting an assignment. They've wrote out that process for me. So I'm going to mark this as correct. And I can see then that they're getting their 1 point out of 1. If this answer had been incorrect, I'd have just marked that as the X, and it would have been marked as incorrect for me. So this is just something that you need to just keep in mind if you're getting students to answer in the text fields, that you'll need to go in and adjust their scores there. And then we'll just click update down the bottom there. And I can see that the results have been updated then. So I think that's everything that I wanted to go through with you there. So very last but least then, so we've gone through all these bits here. We've added our feedback, written, audio, video. We've had a look at the quizzes. We've had a look at releasing the results. So if anybody has any questions, feel free now to pop them into the Q&A or the chat area, depending on where you're watching. And if you're watching after the live session on YouTube, please do, if you have any questions, reach out to us at edtech@mtu.ie. And then finally, I'm just going to go through some supports with you, just in case you need them. So one of our main ways to get support is to either reach out to us, or you can reach out to Canvas directly. So to reach out to Canvas directly, they have a 24/7 telephone support. It's a free phone number that you can call. You can also email support@instructure.com, or one that I like to recommend is to use the Canvas chat, which is inside of Canvas. So I'll just show you how to get to that there. If I just open up any Canvas page and I go to this help section here, if I click on that here, I can see that I have the web chat with Canvas support faculty, or web chat with Canvas support if I'm a student. So if I click on that, it'll actually just pop up a little web chat. It's a real person that'll talk to you. They typically will always answer within about 5 minutes. So if you need something really urgently, or if you're trying to get something done in a hurry, I'd always recommend going down that route before the telephone or email, just kind of get the quickest bit of help that you can there. As always, we have our own help documents. So this is our department page, and we actually have a whole array of different help articles to help you on loads of different topics. So it could be Canvas, could be setting up assignments, setting up quizzes, troubleshooting issues, any of our other applications like H5P or Screencast-O-Matic, which is now called ScreenPal. We just have literally so many different help articles there. So you can just go into that. So there's the URL there. It's tellhelp.eu, helpdocs.com. You can also find it on our website as well, tell.cit.ie, and you'll be able to get onto it through there as well. And you can just search some keywords to find the different help article that you might need. But again, as always, if you're ever stuck with anything, please do reach out to myself or one of the team, edtech@mtu.ie, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So we're just touching on 40 minutes there. So thanks very much for everybody for coming along to our session today, and anybody who watched it afterwards. I will talk to you all again soon. I'll see you in the next one.